Hello, I'm Dwayne Smith, Adult and Community Programs Coordinator at the Boca Raton Museum of Art. We've enjoyed sharing glimpses into the Phyllis Galembo Maske exhibition, and we all look forward to visiting again soon. But now, we have a real treat to hear directly from the artist. Phyllis Galembo's long-standing photographic career has focused on spirituality and masquerade, particularly in Africa and the African diaspora in the Americas. From winning a Fulbright Award, publishing 7 books, and as professor of photography at the State University of New York, Phyllis Galembo has influenced a generation of photographers. She has had solo exhibitions across the country, and her work is in the collections of major institutions, including the Metropolitan Museum of Art and Yale University Art Gallery. So now let's turn it over to the artist herself. Please welcome Phyllis Galembo.
Hi, everybody. I want to welcome you to my talk during this time of quarantine due to the coronavirus. And thank you to the Boca Museum of Art for having this talk take place, and to all the people who helped put it together. So I'm going to try and do a bit of a survey with you in conjunction with the exhibition that's up right now, which features my work from Africa. So we're starting out here with a little picture. That's me holding the camera, wondering if I was predestined to become a photographer, along with my mother and my brother and sister, the twins. I received an MFA from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in photography and printmaking. During this time, my work focused on creating funky setup photographs. My life took a turn when in 1985, a friend invited me to document the traditional religion based in Benin City. This religion focused on the belief that God is everywhere. God is in the sky, God is in the air, God is in the water. The image I'm showing you here is of an Olokun priestess and a daughter. Olokun is the goddess of the sea. It helps women have children, and you can see her seated in this beautiful, powerful shrine. As a photographer, I really like the idea of putting my work together in book format. What we have here is my first book that I did called Divine Inspiration from Benin to Bahia, and that's Benin City, Nigeria, and Bahia, Brazil, and I brought together scholars and artists to write the text. I ended up having the opportunity to go to Cuba. I had a very good friend who happened to be there. A lot of the work that I do sometimes just gets determined by karma, by luck, by people that I meet, for ideas that people give me. So this one is the religion known as Santeria, which is, again, based in the African religion that we first looked at. And this is Obatala. Obatala represents old age and wisdom, as you can see by this initiate who's holding these beautiful little spirits sort of made out of cotton balls. So I'm very interested in very simple things that represent something much greater and bigger and more spiritual. Back to Nigeria I went. I had the opportunity to get a Fulbright, and I did a project called Kings, Chiefs, Women of Power, which later became a beautiful exhibit at the Museum of Natural History in New York City. And we see this wonderful chief. He's holding what's known as an eben, which is a ritual sword that's used in dancing, and he's standing at the entrance to his home. This is a woman of power known as a nokau, and she's the head of the marketplace. From there, I began to document priests and priestesses in Haiti. This wonderful woman here is a diviner, and this time she's doing her divination with cards. This is a Gede priest. Gede, he looks like a hip-hop star. He represents the world's knowledge. He's the keeper of children, and he's sort of a guardian spirit, and he resides mainly in the graveyards. Another Lua, or voodoo spirit, is Ogun, who's a warrior spirit, and we all need to be warriors right now. 2 Hunsi initiates standing in front again of another Veve, and this time it's also for healing. This is known as Izon, the healer, and they're holding these 2 beautiful drapeaux, or Haitian voodoo flags, And the one with the man on the horse is Saint Jacques, again, a warrior spirit. I also was interested in the ritual clothing of the pilgrims that every year around August would make a pilgrimage to Sodo, the beautiful waterfall. For a little change of pace, a friend of mine loaned me an underwater camera, and this was one of the first images I made using black and white film with a little sort of Nikon action touch point and shoot. And I was so amazed by the magical quality that came out that I continued this project for about 4 years. I thought this picture is very appropriate right now. And you can see the man is praying amidst all those torrential waters. It's a very powerful place. People come there every year to cleanse away bad things, to become empowered. And since I had these underwater cameras, I could go into what's known as a bassin, which is sort of the heart of the sacred waterfall. Here we see probably a voodoo priest blessing an initiate. At the same time, I also started working in Haiti photographing carnival costumes. And this is Big Devil, Little Devil. It's a carnival that takes place in Jacmel. These are 3 painted boys. I was just amazed. The creativity. Every year this group goes out and they kind of pick a little bit of a different theme. Another form of masquerade, this is known as a Maroon Masquerade because when Carnival first started in Haiti and other places, it was really for more of the Europeans that had been in Haiti than for the local people. Outside of town, they had their own masquerade, and I love this one. It's this really funky, ugly-ish Maroon Masquerade made out of roofing materials. This is what's known as surprise box. They play a little game, and you give the masquerader a little money, maybe like a few gourds, as they're called, and they let you see what's in the box. So if you look closely at this one, you can see this is E.T. in the box. It's interesting how E.T. made its way all the way to Haitian Carnival in Jacmel. This is a Mammy Water Masquerade. It's a little hard to see maybe, but if you look around his neck, Mammy Water is also represented by snakes. And you can see that he has snakes around his neck because he played a little game too, whereas you give him a little money and he opens his purse and he happened to have a few snakes in there. This person for La Sirène, the water deity again, is with La Sirène and the baby. Another one that makes me think a lot about art making, this one's called Don't Laugh at Me, and you can see it's sort of a spoof about painting your face, having makeup, so I really appreciate this image. I went back to Nigeria and began to photograph masquerades in Nigeria. So this is a pair of masqueraders. The pink one is the female and the blue one is the male, so they go together in pairs very often. Masquerades are used for all kinds of purposes. This particular one I commissioned, which is a way a lot of people get the masquerade to come out. This was taken at the base of a cotton silkwood tree in the village where I was staying. Usually these masquerades come out during coronations when somebody like maybe has a title, became a chief or a woman of power. During Christmas season, there's the Ekpo Masquerade. The masquerades are there to communicate with you. They have their own language. They can often give you a message. Sometimes they're there to frighten you. This is a great masquerade I encountered with mango leaves. We would go around during the time of year when they would appear and hope that we would encounter them. So it's not always something that you can commission, especially with these types of masquerades. This is my assistant, Tony. When I would photograph, it was like a live movie for everybody. Many of you out there are probably photographers and wondering what is my approach to doing things. Spend a lot of time getting permission. I always light my work, so I use like one umbrella. I've got an old Hasselblad film camera. You can see the remnants of all what was then Polaroid film, which now became Fujifilm, which would give me an instant picture so I could check the lighting and I could keep a pretty good notebook of who was who and what was what. Another masquerade that appears comes out with a dance group. You can even have them if you're having a birthday celebration. And this is pretty amazing, pre-Issei Miyake, and these were put together using a bicycle spoke or fishing hook, so it's a form of crocheting. This is unusual because this is a women's masquerade. This one is called Baby Dance, and holding the doll. That's probably the doll that was accessible in the market. 3 more masqueraders, which is a form of dance group. This great masquerade piece is made out of folded pieces of fabric, and I did have the opportunity to see this before they put it together, and it's just yards and yards of fabric that are carefully folded. Some of the pieces of the masquerade costume were passed down, some of the headpieces, and then some parts are renewed and refreshed, and the crocheted part has maybe been passed down through the family. Here I am within 2 of my other friends in Sierra Leone. That's my friend Alpha on the left and Mr. Elamami, who made many of the costumes that I photographed in the Sierra Leone. This is a devil outfit, and at a certain time of year, the devils do appear, and this is a wonderful sort of buffalo piece of taxidermy. I waited and waited, and this is the spot where we're waiting for the masquerade to appear. So sometimes you can wait 5 minutes, and sometimes you can be waiting hours to be able to just take a couple of photographs. I did some work in Benin on Gallaudet Masquerade. Gallaudet Masquerades are those that pay homage to women. Each of these has its own little fable that goes with it. Like this one is about how the world is very upside down, which many of you might be feeling right now. And again, the beautiful wooden parts of the masquerade are passed down, and the skirts and the other pieces of fabric are probably new, and they also always create songs that pay homage to women. Another place I went was to Burkina Faso, and I wanted to share with you, since this is the time of Ramadan, this is a children's Ramadan masquerade, which I also adore. It's sort of the bowl is down on the ground, and everything is made from either shredded sacks, the plastic sacks that they turn into masquerade, and just pretty simple cardboard masks. This is part of Zambia Makishi Masquerade. When young boys go through an age grade ceremony, they live in the forest, sometimes for several months, and that's where they get all their training, how to become fathers, how to become men. The last image I'll be sharing with you is from a fancy dress festival that takes place annually in Winnebago. This event started out as a New Year's festival in the 19th century by Europeans. In the 1920s, 2 Ghanaian men created a parallel New Year's masquerade festival, and this festival still exists today. The first group was known as the Nobles, and you can see in this image here 2 men dressed in their noble attire, looking so fantastic. I'd like to say thank you to everybody who allowed me to make images of them, and for all of you for listening to this presentation, and to the museum for all their work with the exhibition and with creating an online version so everyone can participate and share.